A question posed to us, certain provinces of autonomy. What is the next step beyond autonomy? We must secure this country from conversation that is stopped at autonomy and nothing more. Somali government tried their best. O'Neill government tried its best. Marape government is doing our best. Province full of a pot of oil and gas may feel that at the barrel of a gun I could call for truce. And then suddenly after truce, let me have referendum. We did not want to aggravate our situation. Each of you would be asked to place a call on this issue. I want to register a couple of things. First and foremost, my sincerest bel sore, an apology, golong big heavy, ikmap long Bougainville, from 1988, come in up tete. Of course, you may pass him gun long, noken parep lo Bougainville long year 2001, but that has not seen the conclusion of the entire matter. You may sawel some, but you may not have reliving past. But if there is any stones left unturned as far as apologies is concerned, which la walk lo imi walk bung one time is a step towards panning bell sore. You may help him lift him humble Bougainville again and lift Bougainville to the path of recovery, reconstruction, and development, as much as we want to also do for the rest of our country. I've made an absolute statement to the Bougainville leadership in various forums of consultation that going forward there'll be no more Papua New Guinean soldiers setting foot in Bougainville for the purposes of conflict again. Going forward, and this parliament will specify that no more will Papua New Guinean soldiers set foot in Bougainville for whatever it is into the future. And I want to say to the people of Bougainville, on this side, we are equally concerned of Bougainville's future as much as they are concerned. The issue for us remains, how do we follow the spirit of the peace agreement and the spirit of our constitution in totality? Column section 342 rather, long constitution. Let me talk also, the parliament shall make decision. Parliament shall make decision. Section 342, subsection 2. And talk about parliament by making decision. Exactly one decision. You mean now you see now, all thing all same. All leaders of Bougainville, and they have every right. Mipla 97.7% vote peninsular independence. So parliament, but you don't have to talk anything. Current result go inside now. Yes, that's all now. Mipla independent. Now, me like place him on record appreciation below me long the Honorable Manasseh Makiba as Minister of Bougainville, Harem Bougainville, Belsoro of Bougainville, Iwara Wantam Bougainvilleans. But let me talk, me must send up long, Biani Mama Love long country. And me looks away, part 14 long constitution, and me embracing the entire Bougainville peace-related issues and the constitution that governs and administers Bougainville. But he got some side law constitution too. And me talk about the country. Now appeal to Bougainvilleans, from leadership to the people, to think from rest of Papua New Guinea context and perspective, and MIPLA too, leadership here as well as rest of PNG must think from the context of Bougainvilleans as Christians should and as Melanesians should. And looking into the Bougainville issue from each other's perspective will allow us to find a common ground in some place, if not now, as we journey together into the future. Minister Manasseh and Papua New Guinea side, we're trying to reconcile the voting result with the peace agreement themselves and the constitutional provision of Bougainville and the rest of the constitutional provision we have in our constitution. Mr. Assistant Speaker, Part 1, Section 2 of Constitution, am defining the sovereignty we have today. The sovereignty we have today that was casted and constructed before September 16, 1975 is the constitution, is the sovereignty defined under our constitution. Biar misla ting mi sinau na mitram law analyzing if 2001 or passing this law or leaders law this law in long law this law provision law constitution stuff sabe money or writing this law. I want to say thank you to the leaders in 2001. They maintained in the peace agreement a place for national parliament to make decision. In the 2001 peace agreement, and we talk, parliament shall ratify. In the constitution, it says parliament will make decision. And the result of the parliamentary decision, speaker, national parliament speaker, will convey to Bougainville parliament. There is no fear in bringing this result to the floor of parliament. Each of you will have a moment to express. And the expression of making decision takes place by way of a vote. Now we're grappling with this issue. Is it an ordinary vote or is it this one from national government side we maintain it is a constitutional vote. A vote on sovereignty of our nation is a constitutional vote. And the constitutional vote process will take its place. It is a constitutional section 14 and section 17 requirement law. That's what we believe. And so we've been having this issue. Now, me talking about Bougainville leadership, are you willing to accept the result of the parliament if we take it in? Also, me asking you, all members of parliament, are we willing to step into this? I want to ask all of us to step back and think about the entire issue in totality. And I have some issue that I must deal with. A question posed to us by certain provinces of autonomy. What is the next step beyond autonomy? We must secure this country from conversation that is stopped at autonomy and nothing more. Bougainville is a pace setter for our country. They are separate. We leave them exclusive in respect to their path. But for the rest of the country, it is our responsibility to ring-fence our sovereignty. It is our responsibility, whilst we simultaneously, concurrently handle the Bougainville matter. We must ring-fence the rest of the country. An island full of gold may think he is or she is qualified for independence. A province full of a pot of oil and gas may feel that at the barrel of a gun I could call for truce, and then suddenly after truce, let me have referendum. You know, this referendum is defined in our constitution. Constitution allows for referendum. Section 339 of our constitution, way before the O'Neill government sanctioned referendum and put the question. The question was crafted in 2001. So, Somali government, O'Neill government, and Marape government has little choice but to progress a peace agreement that was set into motion in 2001. The question itself is guided. Section 339 rather, subsection C, says in any questions put, one of the questions must include the choice for separate independence. The choice for separate independence. So consistent with our constitutional provision, Part 14, that deals with Bougainville, Somali government tried their best. O'Neill government tried its best. Marape government is doing our best to answer this alone. And the best we could have done allowed the referendum to go ahead. And I want to speak, and I did in the last consultation meeting, and mind you, the consultation, I think speaker earlier, the member for Abao did mention that consultation has no time limitations. He is absolutely correct. Consultation has no time limitations. But consultations take place between two parties. And we did not want to aggravate a situation. One party wanted this to be progressed, and all manners of transaction is fully recorded in the JSB and post-referendum consultations that have taken place. Kokopo consultation, Wabe consultation, era Kone consultations. All this took place. And we're now sitting before a matter in which they want us to come to Parliament. And we're telling them, Parliament has no direct provision for allowing you to come in. We agreed earlier in the last meeting by way of a sessional order. We both agreed sessional order can usher in the result. But what happens beyond when Parliament makes a decision? They have contested that Parliament has no mind, no voice of its own. You just take the result and that's it. We said it is a constitutional provision. Parliament must take a vote, and the decision must be relayed back to the Bougainville House of Representatives. Mr. Speaker, all issues start before you. This Parliament will one day, one sitting, deal with this issue. Section 342, subsection 2, Parliament must make a decision. Each of you would be asked to place a call on this issue. There will be no place of hiding. All of us must be required to stand up. The only way that is holding us back is this issue on constitutional law requirement for vote and ordinary law requirement for vote, a simple majority. We've maintained that it's a constitutional matter, constitutional requirement for vote must take place. But even if it is a simple majority, it is at 56 or 57 in or 60 in a House of 118 members of Parliament. But that issue on number and what happens in the decision is something we could not agree on both sides. And so, following the requirement of the peace agreement or constitution, we calling for a mediator to look into exactly what is the number required. Of course, the alternate of going to court is there. Section 335 of the peace agreement allows for that. But we, invoking the provision of Section 334, we ask a mediator to arbitrate on this critical issue. When the decision comes in, what is the number that stands up to cast vote in the favor or in the negative? So, Mr. Assistant Speaker, big place you, thank you all Bougainvilleans. I want to place on record the 4 members from Bougainville are absolutely speak on Bougainville matters, and this Parliament must not take offense. I want to place on record that President Ismail Taroma has been defending the rights and interests of Bougainville in all forums. All have been asking for it with no holding back. They said it's independent or nothing. But as the defense of this country, I stand to be guided by the constitution of our country. The constitutional process must take course and must take precedent. And I want to say thank you for Bougainvilleans to understand from my context. Let's understand from their context. We are working through this. As soon as the arbitrator or mediator defines on exactly what is the number required for the final decision, then this Parliament will have a handle on making a call on Bougainville. As I come and bring to conclusion, I want us to think also from their perspective. In the journey that they've taken thus far. But I want to also, Bougainvilleans to also think from our perspective. At 1975, the most diverse nation on the face of planet Earth was stitched together under one constitution, labeled one nation, one country, one people. The construct of our democracy and sovereignty in 1975 is now almost 50 years. This year we will be celebrating 49 years of independence. And this Parliament, this body of leaders, face with the future of our country. What is the future we want to pass on to our children? In the heart of it lies the Bougainville conversation. It may not just be Bougainville, but the way we relate to all provinces. How we anchor all provinces together and not allow one province or two provinces to move on, but empower them. How do we deal with them in the fullest? If you look deep into history, Mr. Assistant Speaker, 1979 or 78 thereabouts, the first conversation on fighting for greater benefits from Panguna came into government. Government changed in 1980, no one dealt with it. Government came back in 1982, no one dealt with it. Government changed in 1985, no one dealt with it. Government went to elections in 1987, no one dealt with it. Government changed in 1988, and suddenly explosion. Explosion. In less than a decade, explosion took place. The first power lines were fell up there in the Panguna areas. So whilst we sit here and throw back and forth as to who should be governing, the undecided consequence of ineffectiveness of public service to process key areas, Bougainville issue is a stark reminder that in the first 10 years or 12 years of our nation's life, we changed government 6 times, and key issues like Bougainville were left unattended. And so I just want to rally in our conscience. Changing government is part of a constitutional process, but we mustn't abandon key focus areas of our country. For the rest of us, securing our sovereignty is very, very important. One fragmentation will fragment the entire unity of our nation. We are the most diverse nation on planet Earth. Everyone has oil, everyone has gold, everyone has gas, everyone has forestry, everyone has island full of fish. The sovereignty defined at 75 is something that we should seriously think about preserving. But at the same time, how do we find a landing place for the Bougainvilleans in their aspiration for self-determination and pursuit of their own destiny? There are enough examples around the world. We've sent already teams to look at structures of government we have. The United Kingdom structure, the New Zealand Cook Island structure, for instance, and other structures around the world. And I want to speak to the Bougainvilleans through this session. Whilst we face with 2025 and we face with 2027 election, you have waited long enough. It may not be quicker, it may be deferred, and for some time. I spoke in Kokopo, I said as high as Mount William is. That depicts that the result, 97.7%, is timeless, will stand right through as part of our national conversation. I spoke in Arawa when I received the result. I said, I am taking this in my bag as member for Tari. That was a reflection that this is a constitutional matter. As much as I am the Prime Minister and I may be sympathetic to the Bougainville cause, as one member, I have no unilateral right to decide the fate of this country. It is a matter of process, and it is a collective matter of the entire Parliament. Every member will decide. And so the constitutional process will be followed. I want to thank, in conclusion, Bougainville leadership. They have every right to be frustrated as much as, and not just on the independence issue. We have given them little. But we have given them little in the context of what we have. From 2018 to 2024, for instance, the total allocation to Bougainville has been 2.2 billion kina all in all. My sister on the other side, I could appreciate her tears when she talks about development. And I wish she also said thank you. We had little, we are sharing little. The last time I was in Bougainville in 2019, the Buka to the village of late, the Honorable William Nakint, Gogohe was sealed, but from Gogohe to Aku was not sealed. 4 years on, Gogohe to Aku is sealed. So I just want to speak to Bougainvilleans. In the context of what we have, we also do extend care to you. In the context of what we have, we do extend care to you. It's not as if we're looking after everybody else and we're not looking after you. The economy Somare was operating from 2001 to 2011 was a smaller economy with less money available. The economy Mr. O'Neill was operating from 2011 to 2018, with no excuse, but sometimes I have to speak for my brother too, was an economy that he tried his best to assist. The contracts, Kokobao to Buin was given them. contracts, Kokobao to Arawa, Arawa to Buin. Some landowners came into the picture. Disturbed the work construction. That is why we have this delay that is still going on. My government, since we came on board, we try to resuscitate this, but we still get bogged down. Just like every other part of PNG, the bog down that takes place when local contractors, etc., want to come in. So I want to say to our Bougainville friends, in the context of what we have, we are assisting where we can. And we've given them an additional envelope of a billion kina for the next 10 years, hopefully to prepare them. I made this commitment in the Buka consultations that additional 10 billion, 100 million every year, and last 3 years, we've given them that 100 million every year. I think it was only previous year that 70 million went or so, but we've given them that 100 million every year for key infrastructures. I want to speak to Bougainvilleans also, knowing very well that certain element of Section 338 of our Constitution, especially subsection 3, 2 parts. I spoke to the AG when we were speaking at Ella Beach, or APEC. Mipla brother Mipla Bel Soren and Laren referendum go ahead within that 15-year talk of referendum. United Nations okay more right go. But you hold him something like boost up yet there. Section 338, subsection 3, number 2 point me talk one returning Mogaragan. Not play me talk, suppose you must operate in transitional government, want the fullest transparency, now good governance. All this plus something stop at Bougainville, you know not play. You brought up Mipla so Mipla pass him I. Not talk referendum go because it's a peace agreement and talk national parliament by making final decision. I mean like finishing talk to the Bougainville, you know, bureau up Mipla. Something come up before you, me come up unnecessary through him come up. And now as a Mipla talk, take back PNG and fight more resource here. Same talk, we only talked before long 1978. Mipla making, kissing back more country. This process is starting finish. As soon as the arbitrator or mediator establishing whether I'm simple majority or Section 17 requirement number, passing this final decision, then Karam come to Parliament. But in between this, any Section 18 constitutional reference office, he got right to seek him interpretation along Supreme Court too. So me like asking him, something gonna play politics. Life is loose. We want to find a permanent solution that respects the aspirations for self-determination, but at the same time, our national sovereignty. So I just want to ask all of us, let's be cautious. There's a lot of pain in this, there's a lot of emotion in this, but at the same time, we can never compromise our national constitution.